HorrorBuzz. We're about to get set for the Queen Marie Dark Harbor panel. Should be one of the most exciting panels of the convention. Really looking forward to their announcements because they usually let us know pretty much everything. A couple of words on the live stream. We know there's a lot of issues with lag. We know we've had a lot of connectivity issues. We're using the strongest signal that we've got right now to get this out to you live. If you're having trouble with lag, I know it's not totally live, but the best bet is to go back to the beginning of the stream, start it over again, and see if you can get a little better viewing quality. Again, we're at like 2 bars on just about everything we use, including the Wi-Fi here in the convention center, which they block. So it makes it very difficult. But we're here. We're hoping this is going to get underway in the next 2 minutes. We're starting early to hopefully get a little bit ahead of it, and we'll see you on the other side.
Again, welcome to Midsummer Scream! Once upon a time, she was one of the grandest ocean liners to sail the seas. Today, the Queen Mary is one of the most haunted locations in the world, a favorite paranormal hotspot for researchers and believers. Playing on its many legends, the famous tourist attraction is home to Dark Harbor. Where the song involving events packed with mazes, monsters, and fantastic entertainment.
Do you want to come in? Open the gates! Right this way, ladies and gentlemen, right this way.
The OG OMG MC, the most important person at Dark Harbor, Mr. Dark Harbor himself, the Captain! Thank you all very much, thank you. Such kind words there from the radio announcery guy whose voice was eerily similar to my own. This is your captain speaking. Welcome to the Midsummer Scream Dark Harbor if you could all bring about 20,000 of your closest friends, we might make a profit this year. Are you excited to hear about everything that's happening and new at Dark Harbor this year? I am too, because I have no idea. They just told me to turn up today, so clearly I have a job for another year, so that's exciting. All right. It's time to introduce some people that do know what's happening at Dark Harbor this year, and I will introduce our panel. First up, some say you can hear him wandering the decks of the Queen Mary at night, calling out for his long-lost love, Jimmy Sweetie, and that he has an obsession with razor blades. Ladies and gentlemen, it's his first time on a Dark Harbor panel, so make him welcome. It is our technical director, Mr. Adam Conga. Just in future, most people walk across quicker than that. You took your time, so just for future.
Milk it!
Yeah, make it snappy.
It's my first time!
I'm glad to see that you're enjoying your last time. Is this thing on? No. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, some say he never sleeps and he lives on a diet of Red Bull and kale. Others say that, unlike Samson, the more hair he loses, the stronger he gets. Which clearly means that he is at the peak of his powers. Ladies and gentlemen, talent director, Mr. David Wally. I feel like I deserve that. I love you. I love you too. Finally, some say that the night before Dark Harbor opens, she goes and tries out every single bar on the premises, just for research. Others say that she puts the Queen in Queen Mary, the Epic in Epic Entertainment, and vodka in just about everything. Ladies and gentlemen, our executive producer, Charity Hill! Don't look at me judgingly, Judgy McJudgeson.
It's my job.
All of you seem different this year, like you're looking at me like you've become parents or something. Judging me from afar. I can tell. I can see it in your eyes. And go.
I feel like, see, he's a perfect example. All of our monsters are at this like fever pitch this year. They've been busy in the off season, super busy, which makes this really exciting. I think something we're focusing on this year is darker, more sinister, more immersive, more interactive. And to do that, we had to bring on a little help. We have a more darker, more sinister character, don't we?
Yeah, you could feel it.
Darker.
What?
Mo darker.
No darker.
Yeah. This year we have an extremely dark, sinister character. I said dark and sinister, not daft and sinister.
It's only July. It's early. I'm not used to coming out with months in a row, so forgive my sunglasses. Oh, God, I'm a little hungover. Yes. Were you discussing a new dark entity?
Yeah, and it wasn't you.
That wasn't my cue.
No.
No.
You think everything is your cue.
Well, of course, darling. Well, enough about me. Let's talk about how you feel about me.
Is anyone gonna tell her?
You're in the wrong seat.
What do you mean?
That's not your chair.
You're not.
Oh, it's supposed to be center.
You're not the dark, sinister, anything.
No, where's the hook? Has anybody got the hook back there? Slide on down.
Stage left.
Stage left. And any further on stage, I'll be in backstage.
That's the idea.
Yes.
You're dark and sinister, but you're not the creepy new character we're talking about.
Oh, really? Oh, are you talking about my new boyfriend?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, This is our little secret this year. And I feel like I can say this because we at Dark Harbor, we do praise other haunts. We're very inclusive in that. And this man, if you have been to Not Scary Farm over the last few years, you'll know it's one of the premier haunts in Southern California. And this man had a lot to do with it. And we are more than humbled and honored and privileged to have him this year revamping our mazes. Ladies and gentlemen, production designer Mr. John Cook. Welcome, sir.
Isn't it dreamy?
How's that for a warm welcome?
Not bad. What's up, Dark Harbor? How are we doing? You know, John, I was going to say something mean about you like the others when you came out, but you're bigger than me and you have more tattoos, so you get nothing but respect. Please, pull no punches. Have at it.
Well, as you can see, I mean, you guys seem to be as excited as we are about having John on our team this year. It's going to be fantastic. And when we all sat down early in the season, sans John, we said, we need a new fresh look. We need someone who is dark and twisty and sinister to bring just Dark Harbor just a little bit darker. And he's our new shadow. So I kind of want to know what you think so far.
You did refer to me as creepy.
You are creepy.
saying back there, by the way.
It's a little creepy. It's a little creepy.
No, first off, thank you guys for being so welcoming. And you guys, this is amazing. I didn't really know how this was going to go, so this is super awesome. Thank you so much.
May we take a moment and give props out to Mr. Rick West, the producer of Midsummer, and his lovely lady Johanna Atalano, and the whole Midsummer team!
So tell us,
See, I can be generous.
what's your first impression so far? What do you think of the ship? Have you had any experiences or anything?
Well, we had a lot of late nights, so I'm not sure what have been paranormal or just being...
Tell them about that late night read.
Oh my God.
This is a family show.
Depends who you ask, I guess. But as a haunted attraction designer, you can't ask for a more amazing canvas than this historic, notoriously haunted, amazing cruise liner to be able to create. And so when my team first stepped in, we spent a lot of time just being on the ship and kind of letting some of these different attractions that are taking place on the ship kind of dictate to us what those stories are going to be that we're going to be telling this year.
And I think in order to tee it up right for John and his team, we wanted to tee it up right for you guys. And the way we thought we could do that is to break out kind of the arteries that make up Dark Harbor itself. Because we feel like the deeper we go with our characters and the further we go into the story, the better story John can play and the more fun you're gonna have and the more immersive it's gonna be. So we're gonna kind of go back to the beginning. For those of you who know the characters, great, we're gonna flip that on its side. For those of you who don't, you're gonna get to know them right now and get to know what makes them tick in their areas, because we need to do that, because this year we've created basically a choose-your-own-adventure mega haunt.
I think what's really cool this year, from what I can tell anyways, you can just go through the haunts and have a good time, or you can get really, really deep into the stories and discover lots and lots of things throughout the ship.
Absolutely.
When you say more immersive this year, does that mean I can touch people?
No.
We're not supposed to touch people. Nobody told me. Sorry.
It's okay, Adam. I already know your no-no place.
Ooh. Captain.
Yes.
Take control.
Oh,
No, you've already set it up. We're more amped this year. You brought this upon yourself.
Oh boy. So here's how you're gonna start Dark Harbor.
Welcome to the family, John.
The first beat of Dark Harbor takes you back to the very beginning, which is the shipyard. And the lord of said shipyard
Is the Iron Master.
exactly.
still has Austin Powers dentist.
Yeah, is it just me, or as the shipyard and Intrepid get bigger every year, the Ironmaster gets smaller?
It's a scale issue.
Well, he is a wee lad from Scotland, but I do like the tilt of his kilt.
Well, those of you who don't know, the Ironmaster character was stemmed from the shipbuilder himself, John Brown. He's Scottish descent, hence the kilt. But his character is really creepy. He is the only resident spirit who isn't actually a spirit. He has been cursed to live forever. He sold his soul to the devil, so he's actually not dead. He's an undead entity.
That's scary. I'm reading his little profile here. It's a little Match.com, isn't it? Strengths and weaknesses.
It is.
Swipe, swipe, swipe.
Right. I would have said strength, those legs. And weakness, you know, like Aries and men who aren't afraid to cry. That's what it looks like to me. Although I like that his weakness is the captain.
You two tend to have a beef.
Sorry, I was, for no reason, just so I want to get close to you, Adam.
I'm married.
That won't stop me.
Is it getting hot in here, or is it just me?
It's getting hot. Can we get back to Dark Harbor? There's lots to see in the shipyard. We have Happy Haunting Hour for those of you who have never come to Dark Harbor.
Or never drink.
That's just unacceptable. But if you've never been to Dark Harbor from 6 to 7 p.m., it's an hour before opening, we do a pre-party. And I think it's pretty fantastic. So if you get there early, we also have $20 tickets. Those usually are for Happy Haunting Hour as well, which means you have to enter the gates between 7 and 8 p.m. But anyone who shows up from 6 to 7, we've got 2 bars open, David. 2 bars. How do you feel about that?
Great.
So this year, not only can you go visit the bars, but you can rent out the 2 patios. One patio faces the pre-show, so you can stare at his face and her face.
Yes, my space.
They are nice faces. And kind of take a back seat, but an upper seat to be able to see the pre-show. The second rentable space is a monster point of view. So you'll be able to sit amongst all of the monsters and watch us call the show from back of house as we open the gates.
And that's actually really cool. It's really probably the funnest 15 minutes of Dark Harbor for me, because it's getting everybody ramped up. They've been going through the works for a couple of hours, and they can feel the beat the DJ's putting down. And
it's a real freak show, too.
Yeah, you'll see us all standing back there going, "Where's the ringmaster? Is she going to turn up?" And she turns up like 10 seconds before we open.
That's what happens with the star of the show. Just saying.
That came across like I was being narky about that. No, that's fine. No, you take your time.
You can check him.
I'm still waiting for that remodeled dressing room, Mr. Cook.
Ooh.
Yes. Ooh. Right now they've got me in the real Dark Harbor, the porta potties.
Things that can happen while you're here, especially if you come early. We wanted to create a kind of a side story, an understory, which goes along with your Choose Your Own Adventure. There are secret things afoot, and starting at the beginning is the best place to start to piece together some of the keys that will unlock certain areas within the mazes, and maybe the most ultimate thing we'll talk about later.
Is it a bar? It's a bar.
You know, Charity, when I introduced you on stage, you looked at me like I was lying, and now you're just proving me correct.
But we do have mazes.
Oh, we do have mazes. Thank you, Adam. Thank you.
Amazing.
And in the shipyard, we have the reason he's up here is Intrepid.
Right.
That's still a bar. So
Oh, that's
we still have
a bar.
Yeah, we were going to another bar before we went to Intrepid.
Okay,
Bar Harbor.
Let me just back up this bar that you just skipped over. Go back a slide.
The barrel room.
It is a cool bar.
It is a 9-degree ice bar, and this time it's right next to Intrepid. And there's 2 doors. There's the door you enter, and you can choose to go out the door you entered when you're finished, or you can choose door number 2, and we're not going to tell you what's behind door number 2, but maybe you'll be daring enough to go after you have 2 shots of vodka.
Yes, and you can also visit the barrel room and get a little frisky with your whiskey.
Yes, that's if you go through door number 3, which is just a hole. It's a big ice hole.
But the barrel room is important. It's kind of significant.
There's clues. There's clues in the barrel room, children, so look carefully, because you could start your own adventure right there.
We're almost to a maze. I
Okay, I
can
think
feel
we're at
it.
it.
Okay, but yeah, we're almost in a maze. It's just like going to Dark Harbor.
Oh, look!
There's a maze.
A maze!
Can we talk about the maze now?
For God's sakes, please.
John, let's talk about this.
John, earn your money. Say something about the maze.
So, for this maze, what really stood out to me the most about Intrepid was actually the character design. And when I looked at this character that you have his body falling apart, he's able to replace it with pieces of the ship. I kind of wanted to dive into more of a why and get into the origins of the Iron Master. So for this year, for Intrepid, we're actually going back prequel of previous Intrepids. We're still going to get on the train, we're going to take it up into the north, and we're going to exit into a snow-covered cemetery. And in the back of the cemetery, you can find the entrance to some catacombs. If you want to go into those catacombs, you're going to come across a sea witch character where the Iron Master has made his pact. As long as he is bringing her fresh souls to start harvest, he's able to continue to live by replacing his rotting body with these body parts. And one thing I will say about this maze is I threw a pretty crazy design package to Adam and his team, and
You
this
think?
maze is insane so far.
Yeah, this thing is, it's a cathedral, it's a cemetery, and this thing is 20 feet tall. I mean, it's impressive what he's designed. We're glad to have him. But I think from afar, whether you're inside that maze or not, you're going to see it from the entire property.
It looks like it's part of the village almost, that's how
It's
massive
taller
it
than the
is.
village in some parts.
Yeah. So if you visit the Queen Mary anytime soon, you'll be able to see it already.
Yeah, I just want to do a real quick commercial for both John and Adam. Adam's been doing Dark Harbor with me from the beginning back in 2010 and doesn't get anywhere near the credit he deserves for him and his team putting up Dark Harbor every year from scratch, and it's amazing. And it's great working with John, who's come in and really taken the event and also taken all of us to another level of what his vision and his expectations are of the event. And for me, it's super duper exciting because I get to cast this thing in a week, and now I know this canvas that I'm casting towards. It's super duper exciting. You guys are going to love Dark Harbor this year.
Ah, my favorite part of the ship.
Can I clear something up really quick? This is not a drink. Port. I know port sometimes is a drink. This is a different thing than a
I don't
drink.
even like port.
Thank God.
That's blasphemy, Charity.
I apologize.
The port is my favorite part of the ship. That's where I reside.
I thought you resided in the Queen's rear. I mean the aft of the ship. But you're in the port now.
You know, I'm not the only one in the port. There's also Half-Hatch Henry.
Oh, Henry, the trickster.
Nice, Half-Hatch.
A little Neosporin and a good barber will clear that right up.
I like it, even now with half a head, he was still cognitive of the fact that he was on screen and watched himself. I think that's impressive. Half-Hatch Henry.
He's got a roving eye. You know, it's down on the cheek and sometimes it's over here.
If you don't know who Half-Hatch Henry is, Half-Hatch, he was a fireman on board the Queen Mary, and he used to play a game where he would run through the ship trying to dive through the doors before they closed, and he got to door 13 and did not make it, and that happened. And now he has a splitting headache. Okay, that's my one joke.
These are the jokes.
So sorry, his strengths, he's fearless. Weaknesses, shouldn't that say doors? I mean, I thought that would be obvious.
I think the reaction time is kind of the same thing.
Yeah. You kind of missed it, didn't you there, champ? So, at the port, believe it or not, I know you're going to be shocked, we have a bar. And we call it the Rusty Nail. Isn't that what comes out of Draven's nose? See, now I'm not going to get that image out of my head every time I'm there.
Make sure you get your tetanus shots, children, before you come.
Sorry, I suddenly saw Captain's quarters. So finally, I can invite people back to the Captain's quarters.
No. You're not invited unless the guests inside there invite you. That's new for you, isn't it?
That sounds like a challenge. I like this idea.
The Captain's quarters is, well, we've always had our creepy cabanas, but this year we decided to move them around, add a bunch more, and theme them so that the character, yourself in this instance,
I see.
can go haunt them, because we just need to find you sometimes.
Okay. No, I got that charity. It's named after me, but thank you for pointing that out.
Okay, good, great.
No, keep going. Cabanas, people are there, they want to see me.
The swings.
No, I don't, but thank you for asking. What?
That's a lie.
Oh, if I can turn the dead, I can turn the marionettes.
Captain, focus.
Sorry, yes, right. Welcome to the panel. Mess hall.
Food. So,
are we actually having, like, sit-down food this year?
God, no. Who's got time? Who has time to sit down at Dark Harbor and get food?
I know.
No. But what we did want to do this year is we wanted to theme it a bit more, and we wanted to create more of a foodie element. We haven't totally nailed food in the past. But this year, it's something that we're working on. We've come up with some really cool options I think people will like, and this just goes along with our whole immersiveness, so you've got the mess hall to clean up.
What? You didn't get that memo?
Aisle 4, clean up.
I need to talk to my agent and see my contract.
It's good to get some good greasy food down in your belly before you visit the bars.
That's a good point. Spoken from experience.
I haven't eaten since 1929. I have trouble swallowing.
Anyway.
David, can you...
I can't even segue from that.
Don't we have a maze in this location?
No, we've got a stage. We've got a stage.
Oh, yeah. That's where we have the stage. We have the voodoo stage, we have voodoo scream. Filthy swine.
What is filthy swine?
More food!
Oh, okay.
Sounds so appetizing.
Yeah, we're making it real appetizing for everyone.
Hey, where do you want to go eat? Can we go get some filthy swine?
Can you just tell us what's on stage?
Stage. It's going to be a big fire stage. Everybody loves our fire performers, our magicians, our sideshow performers.
Get a big cup of alcohol and stand next to the fire stage. A burning good time.
Is that what they mean when they say that they get lit? I'm not up with the lingo. I'll try that. And the priestess perch, is this where we'll find the voodoo priestess this year?
It is. You'll see the priestess here. This is another set of cabanas that faces the fire stage. Another great place, good watering hole to compete with you and yours.
You say compete like nothing can compete with me.
It really is a fabulous stage, and the Voodoo Stomp team, they're remarkable. And sometimes they'll ask you to join in, yes.
Oh, wait.
That's a segue.
I no, why did we take so long to get to this? The best maze at Dark Harbor, Dead Rise. You want to know why? Because it's the only maze in which David Wally gets wet every year.
There will be no exception this year.
Somebody needs to explain that statement.
No, they don't.
So, if you've been through Dead Rise, you know that we have the water feature. That is operated by someone that sits above. So some people think it's timed, and they're like, oh, it just went off, so it won't go off for another 30 seconds, I'll quickly run through. No, it's someone pressing the button. So you're going to get wet no matter how long you wait, or whether you try and go through straight after the first one. The great thing is that every year, as Mr. Wally takes his tour of the park, they purposely get him. Every single time. And in fact, there was one year where you managed to get away from them and take the back route. And so they were waiting for him at the end with a bucket of water anyway.
You're giving away our secrets!
Yes, if you get through without being wet, there's a bucket of water waiting for you.
Adam, okay, so...
For the love of God, John, take over.
In all seriousness.
Dead Rise to me has always been my favorite maze when I visit Dark Harbor, and one of those reasons it kind of has that really cool post-apocalyptic Mad Max feel to it. So we wanted to lean into that a little heavier and really make it the heavy metal rock show of the event. One of the other things we were tasked with by Charity was, because it has such a large footprint, let's put in a lot more choose-your-own-adventure type moments. So one of those choose-your-own-adventures, has anybody seen American Ninja Warrior? Yeah. It's pretty much that. I mean, this maze has everything, you know, it has the pyro effects, the water, David's favorite water cannon, but also it has like cargo net climbs, firemen sliding poles, slides that go through it, things you have to crawl through, and embankments you have to run up. This maze literally is an obstacle course, and it's going to be a lot of fun. But if that wasn't enough, what we did in the middle of the maze is we built in like a legit scare zone in the middle of the maze that has no set path or anything through it. It's just you, the monsters, and some set pieces, and you can try and make it through it, or the monsters can keep you there all night. So, it's not fast, right?
Have fun.
I have a question. It's really just for the panel, so just ignore this. We've upped our liability limits this year, haven't we?
Yes, we have. With all the drinking, what could possibly go wrong?
Right, nothing, as far as I can tell.
No, seriously though, there are two things I want to point out about this maze. One, Adam's ridiculous build. And John's design.
I do love Adam's ridiculous.
Right? You've been working out?
I mean...
Why am I on this side?
I don't know.
Is it because I'm new?
Maybe. When you talk about haunts, we really focus on senses, but we usually focus on 3 senses, not necessarily 4 or 5. And that was kind of the task this year, is take us from sight and sound and smell, and let's add touch, no.
Oh, why did you look at me when you said that?
We already had this conversation.
You just touched me.
And when
30 seconds ago.
And when I say touch, for safety reasons, not each other, that means that only leaves are set. You know, and in order to create the extra sensory and make you feel more immersed in our culture, we want you to feel what it's like for the crew members to try and claw their way up the deck as it's literally at a, 60-degree incline. So there'll be lots of fun interactive things to put you in the time and space of what our monsters are going through. And that was really important to us. It's just adding
So it's like a
extra
boot
sensory.
camp.
It is a boot camp.
You better start warming up, children. Better do my stretches.
Careful, careful.
Like, dislocated.
And I can't believe I'm the one that's segueing into this, but I am. We also have something that we've had in the past, door 13, which is infamous with Half Hatch. It's the door that he got sliced in. But this year, what is new, this is why I can't believe I'm segueing into this, behind it, if you can get through.
Is it a bar? Is it a bar?
It's a bar!
Thank you, Adam. So that's the trick. You have to run and try and get through the door before it closes.
No, but you do have to try and find it.
In the bar, I mean, I know the bar thing, but anyways, the bar, what's cool about the bar is it does overlook the maze, so you can sit there and watch other guests trying to go through this obstacle course. And if they just went through the bar, it's probably a little more entertaining to watch them go through the outside.
It is, because I think they even
to heckle them.
They might even have a chance to create their own scare while they're in the bar. I think there are buttons you can push that can really mess with people.
Can I push your buttons, Adam?
I'm not the button. I'll be there, but I'm not the button.
Cooper. Oh, we've reached the midway. You know all about this, don't you, Ringmaster?
Oh, it's my favorite section, the midway.
No.
Oh, you mean the section on
the ship.
Outside the ship, the midway. Yes, well, I'm going to come center stage.
What? Why?
Let's talk about it. This is where I belong.
Why are you coming center stage? Oh my God, I'm playing you.
Surprise! I'm back!
Not bad.
Run it again!
What?
I want to see it again! It was marvelous! Yes, it was so good!
Surprise! I'm back!
Don't clap for that. You basically played 2 notes and then made a whole lot of noise. You're like Dark Harbor's Kanye.
Well, you know, children, I know it's going to be hard for you to keep, but not one lesson. Not one piano lesson is a natural talent of mine. I massacred that poor instrument, I'll tell you that. All right, let's talk about the Midway. Yes, inspired by a mid-century circus, and it's all about me, of course, and my freaky family. You must come and see the freak show. You can also order a freak a la carte. Yes, you can order them up, and they'll visit you in your creepy cabana, and you can watch the sideshows at your leisure. And I might come by and sing a little karaoke with you. I've been practicing, yes. And as they call it, it's going to be the worst one-nighter of your life. Yes, I think that's the title of my new memoir.
I like your strengths and weaknesses. Strength, manipulation, tickling the ivories. Well, that's wrong facade. We just saw that. That's not a strength.
Now, Captain, you certainly liked it when I serenaded you at the ice bar last year. Well, children, you must come. And you know, people are always asking me about my décolletage. Yes. Well, I tell you, children, it was a date that I accepted. Never accept a date with a stranger when he says, let's go necking. Had something completely different in mind. It was a werewolf! Yes, it was a werewolf. It was 1929. It was the Great Depression. There were remnants of him in my coat. Yeah.
Are you trying to pretend like you're like 20 years old? Because it says down here you died in 1953.
No, darling, I'm eternally young. I'm younger than springtime. It's all that clean living. I know it's very hard to believe, but David Wally and I are the same age. Yes, I know I look so much younger in here. But really, children, I hope you come see me on the Midway and in the circus maze. This year, you get to see what's backstage, right? Right, sweet Joe?
You do.
Yes, you can see backstage up close and personal. It's all dusty and rickety, just like me.
Well, there's a lot going on in the Midway this year. We have Big Top Bungalows, which are the third set of creepy cabanas where I'm sure you'll be lingering around. We've got 3 Ring Concessions, which is a food stand that is dedicated to yours truly.
Yes, and a haunted hookah! Yes, come share a little smoke with me, will you?
I think the haunted hookah is the peak of my design career that I get to work on this year.
Okay, speaking of design, why don't we move on to the real focus on this area?
Yes, tell us a little bit more about what you have in store for us, Mr. Cook. Besides my expanded dressing room.
We have the new Big Top stage is going to be.
Yeah, before
amazing.
we get to the maze, we decided to relocate the aerial stage here right in front of the circus and play nicely with that. Incredible aerialists and performers and singing and music.
There's a bar.
There's a bar.
It's a big carousel. In my defense, this one was worth mentioning. It's like round surrounded is a carousel. It's really cool.
Yes, it is. It's going to be delightful. So come see me for a little drink, eh? Yes? Will you? Will you, children?
Move to the maze.
Okay, maze. Good. So, circus maze or sideshow or clowns is a very, very common theme, so we wanted to kind of throw a little bit of a twist on it, and we wanted to implement that thought of being somewhere that you're not supposed to be. So as a guest, you're actually breaking into the circus after hours when it is closed down for the evening. So as you go ahead and make your way through the carnival encampment, you're going to come across a big fun house that's been shut down for the night, and once you step in, you're going to realize that you have walked right into the Ringmaster's Trap.
That's right, you can see me prepare for my performances. My little pre-performance rituals. Right, Mr. Wally?
Right.
Before it was just you and I, but now we're inviting the public. It's very scary, too.
That must be a different maze that I don't know about, but
It also has a surprise ending, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. It does have a surprise ending. Everyone loves a surprise ending, don't you? Well, you must come and see.
And I gotta say about a lot of these, the three mazes that we've talked about already, Circus Dead Rising, Intrepid, obviously, you know, those of you who have come to Dark Harbor, you know, these are mazes that we've seen in the past. The one great thing about John being on our team this year is, yes, it's the same name and we have the same characters, but when you go through here, there are so many different elements within the design, within the maze, with build, everything. It makes it feel so different. I mean, like he just talked about, it's as if you're breaking into the circus after hours. It just puts a whole darker, thematic theme towards it. It's he's done such a great job, and we
completely reimagined.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. One of the things that's really cool is, you know, sometimes on board the ship, we're a little bit more restricted about what we can do because of the paths and stuff like that. When we're outside with circus, with
We let it all hang loose.
and with Intrepid, we're able to really break things up, which we're doing again this year. But one of the things I'm so excited about what John's done this year is he's broken everything up inside the maze as well.
Yeah.
So some of those familiar paths are like completely different ways of getting through the maze.
Each one of these is going to feel completely different. So
Yes, children, we've had a makeover. We've been clipped and dipped and squeezed and tweezed and plucked and tucked and ready to be entertaining.
The Swan.
Wow.
I personally don't remember getting a plucking, but if you say we all got plucked, then I'll go with you on that.
All right,
reached the
children,
midship.
the circus. Let's talk about the midship now.
So what happens on the midship?
I think the midship is probably one of my favorite areas now, and I feel like it's been passed over in past years, but this year I think it's going to be unique. And we have a couple of characters that lure, or rather lurk in these areas.
Shall we talk about our favorite wretched child?
Samuel?
No. Captain's
We're
wretched
talking
child.
about Samuel.
There he is. Well, Neosporin will be fine.
Samuel the Savage.
where'd your hair go?
Went south.
I feel like we have a couple of resident spirits that people don't know a lot about, and Samuel's one of them. So he was one that we really wanted to bring to the forefront this year, and his maze is insane, but we'll get to that in a minute. But Samuel is an interesting creature and story, so we're excited for you to see what he has in store for us.
It's much more psychological this year.
It is, and he's kind of John's taken us on kind of a prequel journey of how he came to be.
Are the scary nuns back? I love them. Are they back? No scary nuns? What do we have?
For those of you that don't know, Samuel Savage was a passenger on board the Queen Mary who was accused of killing another passenger, so he was locked inside room B340
for his own safety and for the safety of other passengers. And when they went to go and get him out of B340, he'd ripped himself apart and killed himself. And no one quite knows how he did it.
So, and that's where we went with this maze, was playing off the mystery of what actually happened in B340 that evening. So we're actually following along with the detective's investigation of this case. So as we're walking through the maze, and we're going to hear the narration of what they found, we're going to see the evidence, and right as things start to take us in a really dark, sinister place, it all goes quiet. And we are plunged into the depths of the Queen Mary to discover what happened to Samuel the Savage that evening for ourselves.
So if we double back to what we were talking about before about the immersiveness of what we're doing this year, you will have the opportunity to literally follow in his footsteps, whether it's crawling under a bed, out through a closet, through a washing machine. You know, it's like literally you will follow the path of this crazed murderer, and it could take you to some unsuspecting areas.
Yeah, well, I think this one has a really cool twist on it, and what you might think is happening with this character probably isn't exactly what's happening with this character.
And this is another one that we had to completely revamp. I mean, with his vision and the storyline that he's taken this to, I mean, we had to completely demo the entire old maze that you guys know as B340, and it is taken a whole new twist. From top to bottom, the whole thing is different.
Mm-hmm. And you can actually now stay in the actual B340 room. Is that true?
Yes, you can. Mm-hmm. I think on top of the maze itself, this area has become pretty cool too. We've created I'm not even gonna say a bar, but we did. But there's some viewing areas and patios that are really cool, as well as, of course, the RIP lounge. And of these elevated experiences, RIP will remain fairly the same, but we have a new ticket type this year called Evil Express. And that falls in between Fast Fright and VIP, and I highly encourage you to check that one out. And on top of that, for those of you who were lucky enough to get a ticket to Ultimate Scream, there's only, God, I want to say 40 available a night, but it is basically a private tour of all of the mazes, skipping